It's Tuesday, 20th of January, and here are the stories that made it to the top on the news daily. We'll start from the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper, from the bottom surface, we have outrage mounts as Casino moves to release 70 bandits. That story is on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper. Moving on the sub stories, we have Tinubu told to stop release of bandits on trial as ACF Afenifere and others slam Kasina's government over amnesty deal. Stories on the page 2 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We also have going down. We have banks record rising loan defaults amid strong demand, and this was said by CBN. And you'll find the story on the page 23 of the Punch newspaper this morning. DSS arrests Malami after release from Kuje prison. On the page 7, that story is sitting right on the Punch newspaper. Ekiti poll, PDP, SDP rejects exclusion from INEC final list. You'll find that story on the page 7 of the Punch newspaper this morning. Moving up, federal government votes 10 million naira for Abuja runway after scrapping 532 billion naira deal. That story is on the page 25 of the Punch newspaper. Kano governor meets Tinubu amid defection talks. The story is on the page 10 of the Punch newspaper. Military discovers Boko Haram underground storage fuel dump. Go to the page 3 of the Punch newspaper and read more of that story. The job scam syndicate luring Nigerians into Ukraine-Russia war. The stories on the pages 18 and 19 of the Punch newspaper this morning. We would really not want Nigeria to be lured into any war. We all want peace. And that's all for the Punch newspaper. Moving to the next, which is the Vanguard. The Vanguard newspaper. On the bottom surface of the Vanguard newspaper, we have confusion over alleged kidnap of 172 worshippers in Kaduna churches. The story is on the page 5 of the Vanguard newspaper. The sub-story, sad development but will not give up, says Northern CAN. Adds 172 were said to have been kidnapped, 9 escaped, and no one was kidnapped in Kajuru, says police. Council chairman, abduction exposes grave security failure. And this was said by PDP. And you find the story on the page 7 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving down, we have Kano. Governor Yusuf meets Tinubu and defects to APC today. The sub-story, governor keeps mom after meeting at Aso Villa. The story is on the page 26 of the Vanguard newspaper. Massacre of Christians, what we told the New York Times bureau chief Mark Lin. This was said by Inter Society, and you'll find the story on the page 11 of the Vanguard newspaper. Sanwo-Olu signs 4.4 trillion naira budget. So the story is on the page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Anti-Tinubu post, and federal government amends charges against Sowore and deletes Facebook and X. That story is sitting right on the page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Going up now, we have IMF upgrades Nigeria's 2026 growth outlook to 4.4%. The story is on the page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. There was never an Igbo group, and this was said by Ralph Obioha. And if you want more of that story, go to the page 16. Page 16 of the Vanguard newspaper. Impeachment. Pandef reconciliation panel concludes Rivers engagement and returns to Abuja. On the page 12 of the Vanguard newspaper, you will find that story. DSS arrests Malami after release from Kuje prison. That story is on the page 29. On the page 29 of the Vanguard newspaper. Moving on to the next, which is The Guardian. The Guardian newspaper. On the burning surface, we have 50% telco tariff hike leaves operators happier and consumers frustrated. Other stories on the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving to the next, which is IMF aligns with World Bank on Nigeria's 4.4% growth projection. This is business page 15. You find out on the business page 15 of the Guardian newspaper. Federal government to appeal judgment on attacks against journalists. And the stories on the page 4 of the Guardian newspaper. Coming down, Kano killings. Tinubu orders probe as state takes over prosecution. That story is sitting right on the page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Now, if you go to the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper, you'll find a story about APC closing in on Kano as state chairman hopeful of Yusuf's defection. The stories on the page 6 of the Guardian newspaper. Polysmart invests $60 million in Nigeria's largest plastic recycling plant. That story is on the page 19 of the Guardian newspaper. Court strikes out Meta X as federal government rearranges Sowore on amended cyberbullying charges. The story is on the page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Sanwo-Olu signs 2026 4.4 trillion naira budget into law. On the page 7, you will find more of that stories, and this is on the Guardian newspaper. PDP going up now. PDP decrees insecurity as Kaduna denies abduction of 163 worshippers. You find a story on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. Federal government contractors on war path over 4 trillion naira debt, and the stories on the page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. FCTA kicks as workers begin indefinite strike. That story is on the page 30 of the Guardian newspaper. Moving on to the next, because that's all for the Guardian newspaper. So the next newspaper this morning is the Daily Times. The Daily Times newspaper. On the burning surface, appeal court deploys 40 justices to Lagos to clear 360 outstanding cases. That story is on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Concerned NNPCL staff worry over resignation of CUIO and call for restraining of EVP. You also find more of that story on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Illegal acquisition. Court awards 100 million naira against Nigerian army in Ibadan land dispute. That story is also on the page 2 of the Daily Times newspaper. Going up, we have NAPTIP to tighten anti-trafficking net after 93 convictions in 2025. Go to the Daily Times newspaper to read more of the stories. Once again, we have NCC bets to connect 23.3 million Nigerians on satellite D2D. And that story, you will find more of it on the Daily Times newspaper this morning. And if any of the stories catches your attention this morning, please pick any of the papers and read. This wraps up our newspaper review for today.
Visit Housing TV Africa on YouTube and click on the subscribe button. Subscribe to Housing TV Africa to stay updated on latest happenings in Nigeria's housing sector. Follow our social media pages, like and share our posts on Facebook, Housing TV Africa, on Twitter, Housing TV Africa, Instagram, Housing TV Africa. Join the conversation and keep up with latest housing updates.
Housing TV Africa, your first in housing development broadcasting.